The Last Bell in Riverdale. Location, Riverdale, Pennsylvania. Main characters, Jake Hanlon, senior student, narrator. Maddie Collins, classmate and Jake's ex-girlfriend. Mr. Barton, history teacher, school, Riverdale High School. I never thought that my last day of school would be someone else's last day alive. My name is Jake Hanlon, and I graduated from Riverdale High. Let me tell you how our senior day turned into a real nightmare. Part 1. The Last Bell. May 30th. That day when every senior is all smiles, full of dreams, with scribbles and messages on their shirts like, "Good luck, don't forget me, you're awesome." It was just like every other graduation day. Mr. Barton, our history teacher, the one who spent years talking about the Civil War and always smelled faintly of lavender, seemed off. He wasn't smiling. In fact, he looked terrified. When I walked up and asked, "You okay, sir?" He looked at me like I was already dead. "Jake, you weren't supposed to come today. It's happening again. Every 13 years. I thought he was just losing it. We laughed and walked off to take selfies. But then it started. Part 2. The Black Bell. At noon, the final bell was supposed to ring. But instead of the usual school bell, there was a deep, ancient metallic sound, like a church bell but heavier. It rang 13 times, long and hollow. Everyone froze. Then, the lights went out. When the emergency lights flickered on, 2 students were gone, Maddie Collins and Tyler Green. They had simply vanished. Their backpacks were still there, phones on the floor, and leading away from where they last stood were burned footprints, like charred shadows, leading to the old wing of the school, the one that had been sealed off since the 90s. Part 3. Barton's Basement. Turns out Mr. Barton knew about it. He gathered the 7 of us who were still around and told us that this school was built on top of an orphanage, where in 1902, 13 children were burned alive. They're trapped here, and every 13 years on graduation day, they take those who laugh when the bell tolls. He trembled as he unlocked a rusted door to the basement. The air down there was thick. The walls were blackened with soot. It smelled like smoke and wet, rotting wood. That's when we found a note from Maddie. In her handwriting, but on aged, yellowed paper. "We're trapped. Don't trust Barton. He feeds them. He promised them us." Part 4. The Teacher's Secret. We realized Barton wasn't just a teacher. His uncle had worked at this school in 1963, the same year 4 students disappeared. Barton's family had been protecting the school's secret, making sure no one ever found out why every 13th class loses someone. He began whispering, "I can't do this anymore. They're coming for me. But if I bring them new scream, I still hear it in my sleep." Part 5. The End. Somehow we made it out. I don't even remember how, but when the police came, there was no basement. It was completely sealed with bricks, like it had never been opened. Mr. Barton disappeared. Zach's body was never found. And the strangest thing, no one at school remembered Maddie or Tyler, as if they had never existed. I moved to another state, but sometimes I hear that bell again, 13 deep tolls, and when I do, I turn off the lights and pray no one knocks on my door. If you ever hear a black bell at your school, don't go to the last bell ceremony, because next time, it might be you. Room 309. Part 1. The Last Day. I used to dream about the last day of school. Thought it'd be the day I threw my cap in the air and walked out free. But our last day wasn't an exit, it was a trap. It happened on June 6th, 2023, at Grave Ridge High School, a small-town school on the edge of the Appalachian Woods, deep in Southern Virginia. It was a warm summer day, perfectly normal, almost, but something felt off. The air was heavy, and the hallways smelled like damp concrete, like there'd been a flood somewhere, but nobody found anything. At 10:47 a.m., the principal announced that all seniors were to gather in room 309 in the old wing for a special graduation surprise. Here's the thing. Room 309 was officially sealed in 1998. There had been a fire. 3 students died. The room was never reopened, or so we thought. Part 2. The room that shouldn't exist. When we walked into room 309, it looked brand new. Not a trace of fire damage, but the air inside, it was dead, like no one had breathed there in decades. Mr. Davis came in last and locked the door behind him. "It's tradition," he said. On the chalkboard, written in large white letters, "Welcome, class of 2023, you're next." We thought it was a joke, but when the lights began to flicker and an old VHS recording started playing on the screen, we realized this wasn't a show. It was footage from 1998 of the students who supposedly died in the fire. But there was no fire. Instead, their faces faded out on camera, one by one. Behind them stood tall, black figures, faceless, eyeless, almost human. Part 3. Lena's realization. Lena, my closest friend, was sitting beside me. She whispered, "This isn't fake. This is real." On the floor, we saw symbols scratched into the wood, deep carvings, like they were made with nails. One of them was still fresh. Josh, one of our classmates, tried to leave. He didn't make it to the door. He was pulled into the wall, literally. No scream, just gone. His backpack dropped like a stone. We panicked. People screamed, pulled at the door. It wouldn't budge. Then a voice came from the speakers. Dry, female, not quite human. "One class, one offering, that is the rule. Break it, and all shall fall." Part 4. The Deal. Then out of nowhere, Miss Holland, our vice principal, walked in. No one saw her enter. "I sat in this very room in 1991, she said softly. She rolled up her sleeve and showed a burn, a symbol, matching the one scratched on the floor. "To save the class, one must stay behind." Part 5. The Vanishing Room. An hour later, we came back with the police, but room 309 was gone. Just a brick wall where the door had been. No trace of a classroom, no damage, no glass, no footage. 6 students were gone, but their names were gone too, missing from school records. Their parents didn't even remember having kids. Sometimes, when I lie in bed, I hear scratching behind the walls, and sometimes I think Lena never really left that room. She's still her, but something's missing. If your school ever tells you to go to room 309, don't. Just don't. The Basement Bell. Prologue. The Last Day. People think the last day of school is all about joy. For us, it felt more like a funeral. June 6, 2022, Pine Hollow High, a small town buried in the forests of Maine. Graduation day. Everyone was excited. Students cheered, teachers smiled. Then an unexpected announcement echoed over the intercom. "Senior class, report to the history wing for a final surprise presentation." Chloe and I exchanged a look. The history wing had been sealed off for a decade, ever since part of the basement collapsed in 2012. A student died, officially. They led us down to the basement, to a place no one had been in years. 2. The bell and the door that wasn't there. The air was damp. The walls dripped with moisture. We followed the hallway until we stopped in front of a massive steel door, old and cold. Hanging above it, an ancient rusted bell, like one from a forgotten church. "That wasn't there before," Chloe whispered. The door opened by itself. Inside, a huge room, dusty desks, candles, and at the front, standing at a chalkboard, was Mr. Granger, our old history teacher who'd been fired a month earlier for unusual behavior. He turned to us and said, Every 100 years, Pine Hollow chooses. 3. A film that shouldn't exist. Granger turned on a projector. Black and white footage flickered onto the wall. Dated 1922. Same classroom, same setup. Terrified students. In the video, candles went out one by one, and with each, a student vanished silently. Someone in our group laughed nervously. Okay, cool performance. But Chloe looked down at the dusty floor and said, "Look at the dust. No one's been in here for decades." But we only left one trail of footprints. We turned around. The others were gone. 4. The ritual of choosing. Granger rang the bell. Once. The sound wasn't natural. It vibrated the walls like something alive. He looked straight at me. In 1822, 12 vanished. In 1922, 12 more. In 2022, you decide who becomes the 13th. Only Chloe and I were left. On the chalkboard, someone had written, "One stays, one leaves, one fauves, escape and erasure." I grabbed Chloe and ran. The door slammed, but we managed to slip through. Bleeding, coughing, we crawled into the hallway. Then, silence. We came back with Deputy Barnes, but the basement, gone. No door, no stairs, just smooth concrete, like it was never there. Deputy Barnes had a recording on her phone, a hallway, empty, but at the 13-second mark, the bell moved by itself. The video deleted itself the next day. 6 ending. Chloe doesn't remember now, not the school, not Mr. Granger, not the basement. But every night at exactly 12:13 a.m., I wake up to the sound of that bell. And every year on graduation day, I dream of that room. It calls me back. Maybe in 2122, they'll choose again. Maybe I'm just the one who remembers. And if your school ever tells you to go down to the basement, don't. Room 104, the graduation tape. The old camera and one rule. If you ever find an old VHS labeled 104, Grad 98, don't watch it alone. Last entry in Emily Carter's journal. The story begins in 2023. It's the last day at Dover Falls High School. Students are signing desks celebrating freedom. Emily and Zach decide to sneak into the school's abandoned East Wing, closed since a fire in 1998. Rumor has it the entire graduating class was locked inside room 104 and burned alive. In the dusty ruins, they find a locked evidence box labeled "Do Not Open, Evidence." Inside, a rusty old VHS tape and a vintage camcorder. The label reads, "Room 104, Graduation Tape, 1998. Emily laughs. Maybe it's like Blair Witch, but in high school. 2. The tape that shouldn't have been played. Later that night at Zach's house, they plug the camcorder into the TV and press play. Grainy footage appears. The timestamp? June 5th, 1998. Room 104 is decorated with balloons, class of '98 banners. Students laugh, sing, party, but the sound glitches. One student freezes, eyes wide open. Others slowly stop moving. Something or someone is just off screen. A pale hand appears in the corner. The video cuts to black. Only a low scraping sound and a soft, inhuman breathing remains. 3. Shadows and disappearance. From that night, things spiral. Zach begins twitching in his sleep, speaking in a voice that's not his. Emily swears she's being watched. 3 days later, Zach disappears. His bedroom is locked from the inside. No sign of struggle. Police find only the camera, tape erased, and one message scratched into the wall. 104 never ends. 4. Back to school. Emily sneaks into the school archives. It's real. 12 students died in the 1998 fire, but no bodies were ever recovered. One person survived, Principal Howell, committed to a psychiatric hospital months later. Emily breaks into the East Wing at night. She finds room 104. The door creaks open. Inside, 12 old notebooks lie in a circle. one for each missing student. The final page of each reads, "Graduation never came." Behind her, the door slams shut. She turns, and Zach is there, but his eyes are black, hollow. "You watched it," he says. "Now you're the last." 5. The ritual repeats. The room transforms. New balloons rise. Photos on the wall change, now showing Emily's graduating class. On the whiteboard, class of 2023. The VHS camera turns on by itself. Emily sees herself on screen, chained to a chair. A voice off-screen whispers, "Graduation never ends. It only repeats." 6. Epilogue. 1 week later, police find only a charred VHS tape in the ruins of the old wing. Emily Carter has vanished. Detective Ramirez plays the tape back in slow motion. In one frame, standing among the 1998 students, are Emily and Zach smiling, looking straight into the camera. Final words. Room 104 was never sealed. It was just waiting for the next graduation.